All right, so we'll start the meeting. First item on the agenda is a continuation of the public hearing, Bulwark LLC, lots 8120 and 8122 Colt Highway.
Mind if I just do the
applicant, I guess?
Yep. Do you mind if I just do the attendance quick?
Sure,
All right. Robert Hannon,
I'm here.
Richard Berlandi.
Here.
David Fox.
Here.
Robert Eisner. Here. Neil Kelsey.
Yep, here.
Mark Simpson.
Here.
Ned Stachin.
Here.
Albert Canto. And Emily Brick. All right, Chair. It's all yours.
All right, so like I said, first item on the agenda is continuation of public hearing, Bulwark LLC, lots 8120 and 8122 Colt Highway. And I guess there have been some modifications to the mapping and stuff, so we'll turn it over to the applicant.
And Mr. Chairman, Robin Pearson from Alter and Pearson in Glastonbury on behalf of the applicant. I'm not going to say a lot. We want to get right into the meat of, addressing the comments that were made at our last session on July 20. There are comments from staff also. Here this evening, I believe Matt Morrison is on. Matt Morris. I don't see him, but I think he was, for the applicant, was going to be on this evening. He's here to answer any questions should they come up. But as far as our presentation, we're going to start off immediately with Dave Ziyax, who will go through the changes that have been made to the plan as a result of your comments and those of staff. And also here this evening is Tom Ryder from Land Tech. He will be speaking to the wetland and environmental issues. Tony Zemba was here last time, but he could not be here this evening. So with that, David.
Yes, good evening, Chairman, members of the Commission. My name is Dave Ziyax, for the record, and I'm a professional engineer with F.A. Hesketh Associates. We're located over in East Granby. And as Robin pointed out, since the last meeting, we've taken a look at another look at the project, taking into consideration Commission comments that we received during the last hearing, and then working with staff, the review comments from in particular the engineering department, and we submitted a revised set of drawings to you folks, some modifications to the drainage study, and a written alternatives analysis that was requested by staff. We've made several changes to the plans. One of the things we did was we verified the availability to get an open box precast culvert today. In today's world, a lot of these materials are very difficult to come by. Fortunately, they're still manufactured locally by one of our local vendors. So where the culvert's going to be located, we will now be able to do it's actually a 4x8 box, but a foot of it is buried. So it ends up to be a 3x8 foot opening, 3 feet tall, 8 feet wide. And that will allow us to maintain a natural wetland bottom through the culvert and eliminate either a culvert or a solid concrete bottom box that we had talked about previously. Our plan is to work with our wetlands consultant, Land Tech, on the installation of this during the process, both the initial installation of the culvert in the wall, and then the construction of the 2 mitigation areas that we talked about that would be located between the culvert and Route 6. Those areas will need extra care and proper planting to establish those as appropriate mitigation areas. In that immediate area, we changed the outlet from the catch basin and the separator structure to flow into the culvert and avoid the need to create another discharge point down to the wetlands. That was a comment that was made. We adopted a one-way clockwise driveway around the east building, which allowed us to reduce the width of the drive. That was a recommendation, I think, from one of the commission members to take a look at that, and we did, and we were able to reduce that driveway down from 23 feet to 20 feet wide which allowed us to move the wall in and therefore improve the buffer area between the face of the wall and the flag wetlands. And in doing that, we were allowed to, we were successful at reducing the overall site coverage down from 39.1% to 37.5%, as it's currently proposed. There'd be a small reduction in the size and shape of the footprint of the building to accommodate the change in the driveway design and to ensure that we have proper fire truck access around the building. This will be a 3-story building, and it will be, while it will be sprinklered entirely for fire protection, it still needs the appropriate access route for your full-size fire truck. So we made sure that that all worked with this redesign. We added snow storage areas on sheet LA1. That was a comment made. And we also added a small dumpster pad in the back near the loading dock of that easterly building. We don't anticipate needing large dumpsters here. It's basically just office trash and some small trash that might be generated by customers, that are occupying the building. We did add some pollinator plantings to the proposed mitigation planting plan that's shown on sheet MI1 that were suggested by staff. So looking at the overall setbacks for the wetlands, there was some suggestion that at least a minimum of 25 feet should be our goal. And except for the 2 smallest pinch points where there's a little triangular poke out from the wetlands flag, we did accomplish the 25-foot setback. And in fact, you look at the various measurements we've provided on the plans, where in many cases we exceed the 30 to 40 foot, and in some cases even greater than 40 foot separating distance between our face of our wall and the flagged wetlands areas. So we did accomplish some improvement there. And then finally, we made some revisions to the stormwater management system that were to address specific comments, design comments that were raised by the town engineering department. Really didn't amount to a large change. It was just, design elements change to accommodate their comments. One was to put the hydrodynamic separators before the inlet, the infiltrator systems, rather than after, thereby polishing the water before it went into the infiltrator systems. So that specific change was made along with a few others. So I would hope that the commission members will agree that I think we've come a long way addressing some of the comments that have been expressed so far. We had some other items to work on. We submitted a written alternatives analysis, which takes a look at various development alternatives that might be available to the property, such as residential. And then we also outlined some site design alternatives that were considered with this proposal. I think the commission has already sort of recognized that the extensive use of the retaining walls that we're proposing versus, your typical vegetated graded slope grading helps to greatly minimize our overall footprint. The walls, as we discussed before, I consider them to be fairly, minor. They're in the range of anywhere from 4 to 6 to 7 feet in some areas, which, using today's wall systems, that's a pretty minimal sized wall, but it does succeed in eliminating the need to grade down at 2 to 1 or 3 to 1 slope down, which would only increase our footprint. We did go ahead and contact DOT district office regarding the idea or the alternative of 2 driveway cuts and eliminate the wetlands crossing. I can say that they were less than enthusiastic about that idea and strongly suggested that we stay on the track that we're going on. I think I'm already on the record as saying that, basically it's my professional opinion that from a life safety perspective, that the one driveway with the internal drive design that we currently have is the most appropriate for this. I still strongly remain convinced that using Route 6 as any type of connector point or an internal driveway to get us from the west side to the east side is just a bad idea. We did contact DEP regarding that comment that's in the NDDB letter that we've talked about the need for additional biological studies potentially on the property. Land Tech has been the point on that, and Tom will discuss this more, but basically they indicated that they would review the issue again internally with some of their sub-departments within DEP and provide some additional guidance. As of tonight, they have not responded to our request. I did want to mention again, I think we discussed this before, but basically, as far as this commission's concerned, this is not where the issue ends here. We're planning on submitting an application for a general permit with the Army Corps of Engineers for the crossing, which will be required. I've already discussed this with them, and I know this from my previous experience that any outstanding issues with DEP regarding NDDB issues or with SHPO, which is the State Historical Preservation Office, any issues related to those have to be entirely addressed to the satisfaction of the Corps before they'll issue a general permit. So as far as whether or not DEP will require any additional studies on the property, we're just simply going to have to address that as the process continues, even beyond the town, review. One suggestion was possibly conservation easements. We are open to establishing a conservation easement. I would suggest along the outside face of the wall, and then any curbing that's in between the walls to seal off any future encroachment into the buffer area between the wall and the wetlands. At this point, I'd like to introduce Tom from Land Tech, and he'll update us on their thoughts and his review of this revised plan that's before you this evening. Tom?
Good evening. My name is Tom Ryder. I am a biologist, a certified ecologist here with Land Tech. About 30 years experience or so. You're familiar with the presentations from Anthony Zemba. As stated, he has a conflict tonight. So I actually have the opportunity now to present this to you from fresh eyes. I got up to speed on this project yesterday, looked over the details, and what I see here, again, this is just from a fresh perspective because I'm not involved in the design of it all. I'm just looking at this as I would look at it from a reviewer or from a design perspective. And I actually was quite happy with the plan. I didn't really see anything that was of concern. I pointed out to Anthony that there was this wall here, which I thought was a great idea. I found out later it was 6 feet, which is fine. It doesn't really bother me because what it does is it keeps wildlife movements off of the construction area for one, but two, it drastically reduces the impact of the wetland. The wetland will stay vegetated, stay undisturbed. The soils will stay undisturbed. And there is enough of a distance next to the wall to construct it properly. So I thought that was a good component of the plan. The other one I liked was, which is typically what I like to do, is do an open box culvert to allow for native materials to be continued with the substrate. That is usually works out very well. It's usually a good design. I see it implemented well here. I didn't see any problems with that. So that was another component that I liked. So when I'm reviewing the plan in order to present this tonight, these are the types of things I was looking at. And basically, in summary, I found that it was a plan that was well designed, well put together. I know there was some revisions in there that Dave has just mentioned. And I'll think that all of those were certainly beneficial to the design. And at this point, I really don't have any comments that I would provide to improve it or revise it. So I'm here to actually present to you now that, in my opinion, if the ENS controls are installed properly, as they always are, and everything is designed as per the plan, I really don't see wetland impacts, and I can see that the wetland functions and values will continue to be performed, post-development. That is my assessment of that in my presentation here. Obviously, I'm here for any questions that you may have. I don't know all the details of what you guys have been interested in the past, but I'm certainly available here to answer them this evening.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask Tom one quick clarification?
Sure.
In your opinion, Tom, you just said that as long as everything is designed in accordance with the plan, but I think you meant to say constructed in accordance with the plan?
I should have said implemented. That's usually the word.
Or
I really
implemented?
That's
Okay,
usually the word. I'm sorry if I misspoke.
that's
earlier.
okay. I just want to make sure the record is clear. Thank
Yep,
you.
thank you for that.
So at this point, Mr. Chairman, I think we'd be happy to answer any questions that the commission has. Both Tom and I and Robin are here to do that.
Thank you. Rich, I'll start with you.
Looking at the revised plan, I really appreciate the effort to increase the space between the wall and the wetland buffer and increase the upland area. My main concern is the crossing of the wetland. To me, it appears there's two walls on the north and the south side where that culvert is proposed, that if those same walls were rotated in northeast to southwest configuration to parallel the wetland boundaries, that a bridge structure might be available and would eliminate the loss of wetlands in that area. I just wonder if that had been considered at all.
Should we answer the questions with
Yeah,
each
go ahead.
commissioner, Mr. Chairman? Yes.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think the issue with trying to go to a bridge here is I think it's just simply beyond the magnitude of cost for this size project. That's the issue. And traditionally for these type of driveway crossings, this rather large, the box culvert that we're proposing is way oversized for any kind of a hydraulic situation out here. If the commission members that walk the site remember, at least at the time we did it, there was no flowing water or water course through this wetland, and which is typically a major concern. But in this case, this is a surface runoff type of wetland situation, and providing an 8-foot wide opening is really for the purposes of providing a sufficient opening for small wildlife and things to cross from one side to the other, and just to maintain, the hydraulic integrity between the two wetlands. But as far as a bona fide bridge crossing here, that's way beyond the cost magnitude that this project could support, and quite frankly isn't typically done for this type of private driveway.
What is the area of wetland loss by that crossing?
We're at I think it's 2,700 square feet, but that's the just let me get my notes so I have the right numbers for you. Yeah, we're at 2,750 square feet for what I call temporary disturbance, and then once the culvert's in place and the native material is returned to the corridor, we're down to about 2,350 square feet. And that's where the effort to construct the two mitigation areas in those areas there along the right of way of Route 6 to compensate for that. We're up around 2,600 or so square feet within those areas.
Okay, those are the only questions I had. Thank you.
Thanks, Rich. Dave?
Yeah, I appreciate your efforts to at least tweak the project a little to increase the separating distances. I guess I was hoping for smaller buildings somehow, knocking off a few of the units on the northernmost building on the west side, and making the three-story building, the part that extends furthest north, if that was able to be pulled back a little bit, the road would also be able to be pulled back a little bit. But at least you have achieved some further separation. I was looking at the, I compared sheet 2 of the two proposals. Those are the ones that had the separating distances. And at first it looked like in the area of wetlands, wetland flag 56 and 54, that there was really no difference between the two. But then I realized it looked like on your original drawing, you were measuring to the road and not to the wall.
I believe that's correct, and
So
everyone wanted to see from the wall and
yeah, okay.
and not really
I just
particularly.
wanted to make sure that I was reading that correctly.
Yes, you were.
Okay, thank you. I guess that's all I have right now.
Thanks, Dave. Robert?
First, a comment when you reference the area designated for the dumpster, the Connecticut State Law 22A-241, little b as in boy and little c as in Charlie, requires that both solid waste and recycling dumpsters be provided. So the sizing of that area to be compliant with state law would have to accommodate both a traditional municipal solid waste and recycling container. In terms of the assessment of 1 versus 2 access egress points to eliminate the wetland crossing, was that evaluated by a traffic engineer, or was there any input from DOT, or is it just a design team perspective that it's a bad idea?
Well, we have our own traffic department here at FA Hesketh, and we've worked closely with them. Really, we have I guess it's 2 basic issues here. One is the appropriateness of 1 driveway versus 2, and then placing those driveways in such a location where the sight line works, because we all know how busy this highway is. We're on a very large vertical curve, horizontal curve rather, that is super elevated, which means it's pitched. It's actually pitched south to north for drainage purposes. So where we have our 1 driveway shown, we believe that that is the ultimate location for sightline conditions on the road. And then, the issue of putting another driveway over on the west side, we think we could probably accomplish the sight line there as well. It's going to require a lot of clearing. But again, with the combination of land planners, civil engineers, and traffic engineers, I think everyone here at the firm agrees that putting a second driveway here and then eliminating the internal connection is just not good planning from a life safety point of view, and then just the functionality of the site itself for management purposes, customer access, things of that nature. as I think I pointed out to the commission earlier, that, you know, if we really felt that we could do it without the culvert crossing and save several hundreds of thousands of dollars doing that, you know, we would be proposing that out of the box. But again, from a professional land planning and design perspective, I really think we should provide the internal crossing and make this one project and put one driveway. We have very low traffic volumes in and out of this facility, very small, on a daily basis. And but providing one safe access point with the circulation route that we now have is that we will have people on the east side exiting out, you know, that go around the back of the building. They will exit out at that more easterly driveway there, but that's a restricted driveway. You'll only be able to make a right-hand turn there. So if you visit the site and you go in to the main office there and park in one of the 4 parking spaces in the front, or if you just want to go in and get your merchandise or your stuff that's being stored inside and quickly leave, you will be able to go out that one driveway there. But the bulk of the people who go around the back, who have vans and things of that nature, who need to use the loading docks in the back, when they leave, they'll continue on in a clockwise fashion and exit the site at the very easterly end of the site.
Thank you for the feedback. And I think we'll agree that this is a difficult site to develop. The combination of the geometry of the road, the number of vehicles as you identified, the slopes, the trap rock, the wetlands. This commission is solely focused on carrying out the statutory charge to protect wetlands. And I think that's why we're exploring what options exist. So I think, you know, the dual access to the site or potentially use of a bridge to eliminate the wetland crossing are things this commission will have to consider. And if those are not feasible, then maybe the project, the type and intensity of development just isn't compatible for the natural features of the site. But those are things that we will have to wrestle with as we review the record. That's the end of my comments and questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Robert. Neil?
Yeah, I don't have anything further to add at this point. I think we're focused on the right area. And you know, I appreciate the dialogue about the culvert.
Okay, thanks, Neil. Mark?
I appreciate the applicant working with the town staff and the commission to come up and revised plan that's better than what initially was proposed. On that note, I have no further things to state at this time.
All right, thanks, Mark. Ned?
Yeah, so I guess I'm a little confused on what that structure is, because you're showing on the plans, you're calling it a 3-sided open bottom culvert, which is a rigid frame structure like a Bebo wall, you know, Bebo manufacturers. And, but then I hear you talking about a box culvert with a foot of fill in it. So there are 2 different structures. So which is it?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry if I'm confusing. It is, we could call it a U shape, if you will. You know, it is a 3-sided box culvert with an open bottom. There's no concrete on the bottom of any kind.
Okay.
It sits on a foundation. Yes. I guess it's just a matter of jargon as to what we're calling it.
Yeah. But usually the box is 4-sided with a floor. And
exactly. A traditional box culvert.
Yeah, right. Okay. So, yeah, and I would think that I understand that this is more than large enough for the capacity of the water expected, but the reason, you know, we're thinking about a rigid frame that would be a little bit bigger, and I understand that the project can't facilitate, you know, abutments and, you know, pre-stressed box beams and all that for just this driveway. But I think for you to go, you know, maybe from an 8-foot span rigid frame to 12 or 15-foot rigid frame, and then have less area that needs to be disturbed, I think is within the realm of this. I appreciate, the efforts that have been made on some tweaking of the curbs and stuff and that, but I'm with Mr. Fox, and that I was kind of hoping for, a shortening of the buildings a little bit, maybe knocking off a few of the units in order to not encroach into the back, so close to the back lines. But I guess you did the best that you thought you could do and still make the project feasible. So I guess the question is the project feasible? On the driveway all the way to the east, the exit only section, I'm trying to remember, did the original submittal have that with that fashion, or did that go over and connect back over to the main driveway, the main entrance and exit, and then so everybody exits out, entrances and exits from the same location? Or was it always like that?
There was always a driveway to the east,
Okay.
and that was just like an extra driveway for larger vehicles that didn't want to navigate back around the other way, and for the fire truck, because we need to, once the fire truck goes around the building, it needs to leave the site, and we really can't tie the driveway back across the front because there's the zoning element of that, providing driveways within the front yard. There's a limit as to how far you can go doing that, and we're at it, as far
Okay.
as the interpretation of that.
Okay. All right. I guess I think that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Yeah, and in answer to your one comment or question about whether we could make the culvert bigger, or wider, I was just going through my notes that I had. We've been talking to local, some local vendors, Connecticut-based vendors that manufacture these here, the precast guys. And I guess I could say that, if that was a choice for the commission to consider, we might be able to go a couple of feet wider before we get into a completely different kind of structure.
Yeah.
But there's probably some flexibility there with them.
Okay. Thank you.
I do have a couple of questions. I just want to make sure I have this right. You made a comment earlier that I guess the controlled environment structure, that's going to have water, it's a fire suppression system, and I believe that you're bringing the water line down Route 6, is that correct?
Yeah, the water line now ends about midway on the apartment complex that's next to the hotel, which is, I think, about 600 feet down the road. Connecticut Water ended the water main within the right of way at that location. We would be bringing the water main up the shoulder of the road to our site, and then providing hydrants and the fire protection for the multi-story building.
Okay, thank you.
And we've been in contact with Connecticut Water and have pretty much reached a consensus as to what that design would look like.
And I believe you made a comment earlier about being able to reduce the roadway, but I think it's around the climate controlled structure to 20 feet instead of 23. Or is it a 20-foot roadway across the entire property?
No, it's 20 feet around the 3-story east building. And then it's a two-way drive, a 23-foot two-way drive going to the west.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because in going back and looking at the alternatives analysis, it talked about the 23-foot wide paved interior connection driveway. So I just wanted to make sure I understood what the driveways were.
right here. Bruce has got that blow up there for you, Mr. Chairman. You can
Yeah.
see. Yeah.
And that's because that's just.
I'd like to go
correct?
less than 20, but I wouldn't be able to get the fire truck around.
Fire safety, I think everybody realizes is an important issue. I mean, it may not be as much for us as it is planning and zoning.
Right.
Also in the alternatives analysis, it talks about erosion and sedimentation control. And the comment is placement of silt fencing along the perimeter of the project limits. One of the things that I have seen with this commission and probably me in particular is I don't put a whole lot of faith in just putting up silt fence for erosion control. So if that was going to be done in conjunction with straw wattles or silt socks or whatever term you want to apply to it,
Yes.
that would probably go much further than just incorporating silt fencing, especially with as much rock as out there. I have some major concerns with silt fence.
Well,
That's
we
something
agree.
that This commission's been really pretty consistent on for years.
Yes, we agree with that. It was probably just missed in the review, but on our sheet EC1, our erosion control, I agree with you. We have the silt fence and then wattle base all the way to supplement that silt fence all the way around. That keeps the wattles I like better than the staked hay bales. It prevents in the event that the silt fence gets pulled or and it starts to pull out of the ground a little bit before it can be repaired. The wattles prevent that surface runoff from escaping past the protection. So the entire north boundary of the silt fence will be backed up by wattle.
Okay, no, thank you for clarifying that.
Yes.
And I know I've talked about this in the past, but looking at the design that you have for the culvert that you're putting in, like I say, it's 3 by 8. Actually, it's probably 4 by 8 because of the width of it. But if I'm remembering correctly and looking at the actual design, looks like it's a fairly significant concrete support under both sides of that bridge. And then the reason I'm bringing that up is, or the culvert, not the bridge, but the reason I'm bringing that up is because then in looking at how the lines would be designed right here, for the sanitary sewer system, I'm assuming, it's a force main. So I'm just curious as to whether or not that particular design is going to create some problems if you need to go in and do any repair work. Again, because of the depth of the concrete structure, both the culvert itself as well as the supporting concrete.
Yeah, so what'll happen is under the entire span, so including the foundation and then the 8 feet or so of opening, we'll put sleeves in underneath those. So in the event that this is a 2-inch, a plastic force main, in the event that ever needs to be, repaired or replaced, you'll be able to pull it out through the sleeve.
Okay.
And then the water main, of course, is a class 52 ductile water main. Those are almost indestructible. Those are put under in these kind of situations all the time, so they have a very long lifespan expected. So I'm not worried about the water main, but I understand and of course the water is not a source of potential pollution. The force main is. So the force main would be continuous, sealed, not a jointed pipe, and it would be put in a sleeve underneath so that it could be pulled out in the future if it ever needed to be for replacement.
And then how would you be installing that sleeve to start with?
Basically, you dig down as part of the installations of the footing, and just prior to, pouring the concrete for that footing, you would install that sleeve across and
Okay, so
then
you're not going
replace.
in with any boring, right?
No,
Okay, because if you're going in with some kind of boring, I was gonna ask what kind of material you would tend to use in doing the boring, so, okay.
Yeah.
No.
and then the trick to the construction of these things, and that's why you need your wetlands consultant on board, is any of this material that you do remove, that top foot to 18 inches of material that's disturbed in this area, that needs to be stockpiled and preserved and then put back in place in the culvert, and so that you restore it back as quickly as you can to its current condition. And then the same thing over in the areas where we would be building the mitigation areas. If there's some valuable, wetland-like soils disturbed, you stockpile those temporarily, you shape the mitigation area, and then you put those soils back. So the same soils go back that were there now, and then, revegetate everything per the plan. So there's some tricks to doing this the right way. And I know both Land Tech and our firm have done it numerous times. So I'm very confident that we can pull this off and really have a nice installation when it's finished.
And then one more question. You had made a comment that you might be able to go wider with the culvert. How wide?
That's what I'm looking at now. I think we had some sketches available that would take us to maybe 10 to 12 feet, maybe.
Okay.
I would ask that the commission, if you were to make that some form of a condition, or have, I know staff will draft your conditions. We can take another look at that in the meantime.
Well, this also gives us something to think about if we've got a rough idea, if this is sort of the primary way to try to design this, if we can go a little bit wider and maybe preserve a little bit more of the wetlands and have less of an impact, that may be a way that we want to go. So at least it gives us some food for thought. So thank you for that.
Sure.
I don't have anything else. Any commission members have anything else they want to bring up while the discussion was going on?
Chair, Robert Canto joined in a little late, so he's online now.
Okay. Bobby, any comments?
I'm good, thank you. I've been listening to everybody's comments. I'm gonna hold off for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bruce, any public here?
There are some people online. I'm not sure if they're ready to speak here or not, but if anybody is online and they would like to speak either for or against this project, please raise your hand using the Zoom function, and we'll allow you to speak. One more time, anyone willing or anyone interested in speaking at this meeting, please raise your hand using the Zoom function. All right, Chair, I'm not seeing anything on our side.
And actually, that actually allowed me to go back and take a look at my notes. I do have one other question. It's just sort of a general ground maintenance question. And how, because again, we are so close to the wetlands as proposed in this project, what would be the company's policy for making sure that the area stays clean? Any trash or things of that nature that blow over the retaining walls and down towards the wetlands, how is that stuff going to be retrieved or removed? Has any thought been given to that? And if not, that's something that you may want to think about.
Well, we have one provision we have is because of the height of the wall, there will be a 4-foot high fence on the wall. The fence will serve as a barrier for humans to go potentially over. And it will also be a good collector of any small trash blowing around the outside of the building, and will be captured by the fence. There's certainly, between there's an opportunity for either a condition of approval from this commission or the planning and zoning that says that, to direct to make sure that there's an enforcement action there. But this area between, downstream or in the downside of the wall is certainly an area that people can walk, a human can walk. We did it ourselves. We're not going to be changing that grade in front of the wall. So a seasonal walkthrough of that area to make sure that nothing got past the fence or is blowing around from the highway or wherever it's coming from. I think a simple walk along that area with a trash bag would be more than sufficient, because I don't think much trash is going to be able to get past the fence. And I don't see this facility generating very much trash outside the facility that, like say a fast food restaurant might or something like that. I think it'd be probably more trash blowing off the highway. And because walking around out there, you do find, miscellaneous trash and, a few soda cans or beer cans here and there thrown out the window, unfortunately, as people are driving on the highway.
Yeah, no, what I'm thinking of more than anything is the proximity to the wetlands. So it's more along sort of the northern side, and just making sure that a whole lot of debris doesn't get to build up in there and things. So I'm just thinking sort of a regular plan to have somebody go through there and make sure that any debris that's there is cleaned up, so that we're not causing any problems within the wetland area itself. So
Sure.
that's kind of where I was going with that.
Yep. I would say a spring and a fall walk is appropriate.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
if you don't mind, I just thought of something. I apologize. My meeting ran late, so I got here late. If it's already been covered, forgive me. But have we talked about winter snow and what the types of effects it's going to have on the wetlands with ice removal and such? Like, are we the products, salt, urea, all that type of thing? Anyone?
I'm sorry, is that I guess I'll answer that question. We've indicated on the plans areas for some snow, stockpiling in areas that are as far away from the wetlands as can be. I mean, obviously, we don't want any snow dumped over the walls and things of that nature. But as far as treatment on the site, there may be instances where some calcium type de-icers will be necessary for those days when it's just miserable out. There's no real need, or really it's frowned upon these days to be using mixtures of sand and salt on these private sites. It's just too big a maintenance headache in the springtime to clean out all of the hydrodynamic separators and things of that nature. And then as far as storing any of those types of de-icers, we have it noted on the plans, and staff requested that if any of that is stored on site, it has to be inside one of those, inside the buildings. It can't be stored outside. So the intent is to use very minimal amounts. It's expensive anyhow, and it has a tendency to, in addition to natural or wetland situations, it also raises havoc on your physical plant as far as if you get stupid and put too much of that stuff down everywhere, it just dissolves concrete and asphalt. So it's foolish to do that. So it would be minimal amounts Everything needs to be swept up and cleaned in the spring. And really, I don't see a lot of heavy sanding and salting going on for this type of facility. There's, it's not a high traffic area or speed situation or something like that. And the grades of the driveways and everything are pretty minimal. So it's I just don't see it as a major concern here. Particularly since we have all the hydrodynamic separators and everything's going through the infiltrator systems first.
Okay.
That answer your question, Bobby?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. I don't know if anybody wants to sort of follow up with the summary of where we're at, or if you think you've said enough and you want to be quiet the rest of the way.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
this is Ned.
Okay.
I had a comment or a question, if it would be feasible. If you go to on the west side, the building, the farthest from the road building there, would they be open to how on the most that shorter easterly unit, that right next to the curve there?
Yes.
No, on the last building, on the
Oh.
farthest building. But you see how the one to the most farthest to the east and closest to the wetland is a shortened unit? Yeah, that. Would they be open to pushing that, the number of shortened units a little further out so that like you get to where wetland flag number 6 is? I don't know if that's either 3 or 4 units. And then I think we're keeping it, that we're taking advantage of that jog where the wetland starts to get further away from the building. And we could kind of keep that, increase on that 25-foot mark. And I was thinking that, because and that's also a very steep area based on if you bring up the line with the contours. And so we can kind of, if you take away, you shorten 3 or 4 units, you get it away from the shortened area, the steeper area, and we give ourselves a little more distance between the wetland line. So I don't know. I don't know if any other commissioners have an opinion on that, but I was hoping to see that these, a few units knocked off on these completely. And so we could, like on that building, get a little further away from the wetlands. But I know they're trying to get as much as they can, but I was thinking if they shorten the depth on that out to wetland flag 6, and then we can increase on that 25 feet a little more.
So you're looking at like three full units there, so there'd be 4 units.
Yeah, out to like where wetland flag 6 is.
Yeah.
And then we stay away. We're keeping our distance. The steeper areas are where we tend to, sometimes you tend to have problems with runoff and erosion, and so we'd stay farther away from that, and we'd increase on this 25 feet. We're always looking to maximize our distance to the wetland line. So I don't know. It's just I think we should try and consider something like that.
Yep.
Is there any other opinions on that from the commission?
I mean, I'll throw this out. It looks as though part of the reason for, at least in that middle building, with reducing the size of that end building was strictly because of the traffic pattern.
Yes.
In order to make the curves.
Yes.
But I see where you're coming from, Ned, and I mean, to me, it makes some sense.
I mean, if you're going to have a jog in the building anyway, then we're not reducing the number of units that they're putting out, but we're just making 4 of them smaller. And I don't think it's a lot to ask, to help with the area there that's very steep, and to maximize our distance to the wetland line.
I see the commissioner's point, and you know, if that's the consensus of the commission, then, you know, we'd have to address that.
That's all I have for a comment right now.
Okay,
Thank you.
so I'll, ask again, does anybody want to sort of summarize where we're at with this on the applicant side, or do you feel as though everything's been discussed enough?
What do you think, Robin? I'm leaning towards letting the commission proceed.
Yeah, so here's the way I see it. The commission has raised some issues about, I mean, what is it that we're talking about now? They've raised some issues about distances to the wetlands. I think we've made a strong argument, though I can see that maybe that last, where Ned was talking about making that distance less by cutting off, I don't know if we talked about 3 or 4 units, but making those shorter and back would certainly help at that location. But our consultant has said that the fact that we're building the wall, we don't have the wall there.
Oh, your footing, your foundation for the building itself, I think, is your wall.
Right.
Yes, yes.
But it's a little bit, well, it's our consultant has said that Mr. Ryder, that he feels that from an impact standpoint, we've protected the wetlands with the wall, and in this instance with the back of the building, I guess. But I could see that would be something that we might want to definitely consider. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, David has made a very compelling case for a lot of reasons as to why we can't do 2 driveways, and we're faced with the the crossing that's really, for a lot of good reasons, a necessity. And the culvert widening would potentially have less impact than we're proposing right now in terms of actual disturbance to the wetlands. But we are affecting the wetlands, but I think, David, and the reports that we've submitted have also indicated that at this particular location, we aren't necessarily interfering significantly in any way with the functions of those wetlands by doing this. So I know, having spoken with David before the meeting, that there might, we would obviously like to be able to have an approval here. So if there are other things that you feel that we definitely need to look at seriously as potential conditions in order to protect the integrity of the wetlands here, yeah, I hope we have a chance to have you be very specific about it, so it'd be possible to close a hearing and have a decision. David, I don't know if you have anything else to add to that, but.
No, I would think that, I know the process in town is that, ultimately staff will make recommendations and conditions of approval. Certainly any of these things that we're talking about tonight could be added to that list. They don't necessarily need another set of plans to accomplish this. They can be done as conditions of approval of these plans. And I know that the commission has a lot of faith in staff to make sure that happens appropriately.
I mean,
Attorney Pearson, also you were looking for Mr. Matt Morris. He had signed in while the presentation was going on, so I'm not sure if you want to for him to speak at anything else.
We weren't planning on having him speak unless he
Okay.
has something he feels he would like to say.
Oh, just want to let you know, I know you were looking for him before, but he
Yeah,
is,
no, it's good to know that he's on the call. You should be aware that he is.
and Chair, Commissioner Eisner had his hand up earlier. I'm not sure if he still has a comment or.
I did not see
question.
it. I was preoccupied looking at all the stuff that's in front of me on this.
Myself too. I was trying to make notes. I looked up and then it went away. So I'm not sure if he's
Robert,
done.
you had something?
Yeah, I was responding, Bob, or Mr. Chairman, when you were asking about summarization, but that summarization was for the applicant.
Correct.
But while I have my mic open, I think where I am on this application is, I don't think the commission's role and responsibility is to do the design work. I think the applicant needs to consider, if we have all the information, to make a decision, and whatever the applicant wants us to consider, then we'll consider. There seems to be some flexibility about decreasing the size of the buildings. That is the responsibility of the applicant to bring to us, not for us to condition the approval with changes to the plan. So it's, I think dialogue we had is, it's, you know, there's concern for my part, and I think from the other commissioners' part, about the intensity of the development, the intensity and amount of work in both the regulated area and the wetland crossing. So it's, the applicant has to decide what they want us to render a decision on. So, you know, that's the applicant's call, not ours. End of comment.
Okay, and Bruce, I also want to ask this, because I think the comments from engineering, it looked as though they wanted time to do additional review prior to any determination we make. Is that correct?
I suggested that. That's definitely a suggestion. That's for the commission to review, and if they decide other words. I was focusing more on the wetland setback issue, because
Yep.
as we had discussed, I think that we were looking for a smaller building and a greater offset. So that's definitely in the commission's hands at this point.
Okay, because my take, at least in terms of where I see this going, is we can close the hearing tonight based on all the information that we have. And then we can start looking at, you know, what we have, comments made, you know, as far as the representations by the applicant and how to deal with some of the things, and we can go from there. Robert, is that kind of your take on it as well? Because I mean, there were a number of things that were discussed tonight that are sort of up in the air. Are you looking more for the applicant to come back with sort of a concrete design on it, or because
Yeah,
it's been
we're,
discussed and
you
it's
know,
part of the record, it's something we can play around with?
yeah,
I just wanna
Mr.
make
Chairman,
sure.
Mr. Chairman, I see our role as reacting to an application that's before us. Our role is not to be the design team and do the design work. So the applicant will have to decide if they want us to render a decision on this plan, or if they want to come back to us with an additional plan. That's the applicant's responsibility.
Yeah, I would agree with Mr. Eisner on that one, and, you know, let chips fall in where they may, and then go to P and Z from here.
Okay, Robin Pearson again. With that, I'm going to look at David, because there are some issues that have been raised for which we have said, you know, we might be able to do something like increasing the size of that culvert, the width of the culvert. David, you know, you have more contact with the client. I would like us to be in a position where we have the best possible plan based on what we've heard tonight for the commission to consider. And did I understand that, Bruce, you did want more time?
No, I was just letting the commissioners asked me on the comments. It does suggest that additional what am I trying to say? The comments are just more or less asking for this information to be addressed before any kind of a vote. And that's technically, it's all in the commission's hands at this point. They could either agree with me or move on. So.
Okay, with that, this attorney is going to defer to Mr. Ziyax.
Yes,
In other words, so we could continue the hearing and take a look at the plan and see if there was anything else we wanted to change as a result of what we heard from you tonight.
yes. And I have been communicating with the actual applicant, and at this point, we would like to continue the hearing and give us a chance one last time to address these few comments, communicate with staff one more time, and then we'll present our final case before the commission and ask you to, render your decision at that point.
Okay, what I'll throw in on this, I believe that because of when the hearing started on this, I think we needed an extension to get to this point. Is that correct, Bruce?
Yes, that is correct. We've been offered, we've been given extension up to the September 7th hearing, which is a meeting, which is today. So we
Right.
would need a,
in
so we'd
order
like to get
to-
at least a verbal and then a written approval, or a written approval for an extension tomorrow morning.
When is the next meeting? We don't have, we have,
21st.
Yep.
21st.
okay. September 21?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so yes, we would be happy to grant an extension, and I will provide you a written communication to that effect.
Okay. So we'll close this episode tonight with the hearing being continued to September 21st, and we'll get the letter in supporting the extension of the hearing until the 21st.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and the rest of the commission members for working with us here, giving us good feedback, and we'll take one last stab at it.
Okay.
Can we just get a motion on the continuance,
Yeah.
please?
Need a motion to continue the hearing to the 21st of September. Is there a motion for that?
So moved by Eisner.
Is there a second?
Second, Ed.
Have a motion on the floor to continue the public hearing until September 21st. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstaining? So be it.
And
Thank you very
Mr.
much.
Chairman, just for the record, that's extension with consent by the applicant.
Correct.
Yes.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, folks.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good night.
Take care.
So that ends the public hearing portion of it. New business, 30 Portage Crossing.
Okay, give me a second. Here. Yep. I think the applicant is online. Is he still there?
Yeah, I'm there, Bruce. Thank you.
All right. Just to kind of bring it up to speed, this was the application from last month. Applicant was looking to put some solar panels, talked about some tree clearing. It has since, he was asked to go back and give us a greater detail on what they're looking to cut. And that was sent out with the agenda package. So the house, trees, and here's the pictures. So Arun, do you want to add anything else to it?
No, I'm good. Bruce, you covered it all for me. Just to summarize, as you just said, one of the commissioners has stated that the solar company would have given some kind of a diagrammatic representation of the trees that really need to be cut so that the shadow that is being casted on the roof can be eliminated. So I went back to the solar company. They provided me this sketch that you see on the left-hand side. And then, what you see on the right is primarily pictures taken by me just to represent what trees exactly are we talking about.
Okay. And you're probably referring to me as the one making the comment simply because that's what they did when we had solar panels put on our house.
Right, yeah.
So for that, I thank you.
No problem.
So just to confirm, you're looking to cut the larger trees, the ones in between will stay?
That is correct.
Okay. So as you can see, these are the larger trees here. So the steps were determining significance on here and determining when, not significance, but determining yes. Did we accept it? Yes. Yep, we accepted the application,
Yeah.
determining significance or as of right and going from here.
I mean, having the details here and going in with, a design in terms of which trees to be removed, that's sort of eliminated my concern. I mean, I don't have a problem with it being allowed by right. I think the one thing that needs, well, two things we need to make sure of. One is, because you do have the drainage swale out there, correct?
There's a swale and a pipe. So zoom in here. It's kind of it's not a well-defined swale because there's not that much drainage area from up here, but the whole wetland does come out in the backyard, comes to this one little yard drain, and then this yard drain pipes through an 8-inch pipe all the way out to the catch basin.
So they're going to need to be careful with any equipment there as it relates to the piping.
Yep. Mhm.
And then the other thing is, it's the trees that are proposed in this project. We at times have had other folks that have come in and they got approval to take down a limited number of trees, but then got a little happy with the chainsaw. So just want to make sure that it's just the 5 trees that were proposed to be cut down for the solar. And I'm fine with doing it that way. So now I ask everybody else. Ned, how about you? Your take?
Yeah, I think it's reasonable. Taking down any trees is not so good, but solar energy is good for the environment. So it's a trade-off, and I think it's a reasonable amount. The reasonable number of clearing that's done, and now that we have a better idea of what's going to be done, I'm okay with it.
All right, thanks. Mark?
Yeah, I don't have any problems with what the trees being removed. I think the carbon savings with the solar panels will obviously outweigh anything removing of the trees would be causing an issue. So I'm fine with this plan.
Okay, thanks. Neil?
I'm fine with it, and just thanks to the applicant bringing it back to us with the pictures to describe what was coming down.
Okay, thanks. Robert?
Is that to me, Bob?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Yeah, I have no questions or concern. I think it's incidental use for residential property, and I appreciate the additional information the applicant brought forward.
Okay, thanks. Dave?
Yep, I have no questions. It looks good to me.
Okay, Bobby?
Yeah, I'm good with it. I'm a lot more comfortable with the designated trees coming down than clearing it all. No problems.
Okay, thanks. Rich?
Yet I appreciate the additional effort that Mr. Kumar has made to identify what he needs to do here. And since the trees are farther away from the wetlands than the trees in the back, I have no problem with what's being proposed.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is though this is something that people don't have any heartburn over. So would somebody like to make a motion to approve the application indicating the 5 trees that are to be removed for the installation of, or associated with the installation of the solar panels?
We just add one little comment onto that, just that the applicant will work with staff to mark the trees. So we're, as you said, so we're all on the same page in terms of what trees are
Absolutely.
coming out.
Yes.
Yeah, so Bruce, just one question. Is that me working with you or somebody else to mark the trees?
That would be me.
All right.
So can I get a motion to that effect?
So move, Ned, with that stipulation.
Okay, is there a second?
Dave will second.
Okay, have a motion on the floor. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, abstaining. Good luck with your solar.
Thank you.
So one of the keyboard issues that Bruce brought up is number 2, Town of Farmington.
Yes, one of the additions. So we did receive an application late, or not late, but it was early, when I sent it, Tuesday. So I sent it out as quick as possible. Give me a second. Let me load this up. The screen thing is. Isn't it moving?
New business too.
Yep. Oh, it's at the bottom. I'm like scaling. All right, so
Just before we get going, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
yes, we can hear you, Dylan. Thank you. Let's see that. Here's the GIS and
That's up in the plastic on the edge of the corner of the table,
here's the photos.
the other edge.
All right. All right, Dylan, it's all yours. Go ahead.
Good evening, commission members and chairman. This evening, the town of Farmington is presenting a small drainage project, 2 catch basins to be installed with appropriate piping as shown on the plans at Vine Hill Road. Specifically, we are working more so on 2 Vine Hill Road to the left side of the screen, where you can see the outfall and riprap landing or pad for the outfall of the drainage pipe. And this project came about due to a paving project that was done years ago on Vine Hill Road, where curbing was installed. As you can see here, 2 leak-offs were left, 1 on each side, 1 leading into the pond at 5 Vine Hill Road, and the other leading off into the drainage swale. As you can see here, the 1 leading to the drainage swale, we have had a bit of erosion, and we think that, yeah, as you can see there, the larger rocks at the bottom are a little bit more defined. And on the other side, the pond side, Bruce.
Yeah, they're trying to find it.
Yeah,
Gotcha, right there.
the resident at 5 Vine Hill Road has initiated the project in a way so he doesn't want the runoff from the road going into his pond anymore. Due to the added curbing, he feels that it is a higher velocity going into the pond, and he just wouldn't like it there anymore and would rather have all of the water diverted into the drainage swale across the road where the pond's overflow pipe leads. The project proposes closing off that leak off on 5 Vine Hill Road, located on the left-hand side of the screen. We will then carry a pipe over to the other side of the road, just above the current leak off. We don't want to close that leak off, as the overflow pipe for the pond is located almost directly under it. So by putting a drainage structure there, we limit the ability to repair the pipe if ever need be, especially when perhaps time is not abundant. So we moved that catch basin up towards Talcott Notch Road to leave enough room for any future work that needs to be done to that pipe. So we will leave that leak off there and add that other catch basin and outfall with the riprap pad to help control erosion and the velocity going into the drainage swale. This project would eliminate a very minimal amount of water. There is a drainage system on Talcott Notch Road, and the water is going basically into the same place that it already was going into. So we shouldn't see much of a hydraulic change at all there. If any commission members have any questions, I can answer them now.
Thank you. Rich, I'll start with you.
No, I don't have any questions. Seems pretty straightforward.
Okay, thank you. Bobby?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, David?
I have no questions.
Robert?
No concern. Seems like necessary maintenance work.
Okay, Neil?
And no questions.
Thank you. Mark?
No questions.
All right, thank you. Ned?
I'm just looking where, you know, they're adding the modified riprap in, and is this 12-inch PVC pipe that's the runoff from the pond, is that accurately represented there? Because I'm wondering, like, why wouldn't we just kind of combine the two? I mean, what is the condition of the outlet of that pipe?
So that pipe is from the gate box, which is a few feet below road elevation. It is 11 feet down. So we're talking about a good probably 15 feet by the time you get to the road. So it's one very deep. And we don't have, as a town, I don't believe we possess the equipment to install a pipe that deep. We would have to go out to bid for that.
All right.
And
But it's also a private pipe too, right, Dylan?
yeah, that is also correct. It was a private pipe installed for the pond by the landowner at some point in time.
Oh, all right. So that's not our pipe?
Correct. That's also not our pipe. And the riprap is at a decent elevation over the pipe where it shouldn't affect it whatsoever.
Okay. If it's not our pipe, why are we not curbing over that? I mean, because we wouldn't be maintaining it. No, I don't. I get, now you lost me. Why you have the existing leak off to remain? If we're going to put a catch basin in there,
that leak off. Excuse me, but that leak off represents the lowest point in the road. So so even if we close that off, we would experience ponding there.
So we're not putting the catch basin at the low point?
No, the low point is going to remain the leak off, and the catch basin is going to catch anything coming off Talcott Notch Road, which is going to be very minimal. When we do this kind of work, we like to put a structure on each side of the road. It becomes easier for a road maintenance point of view. When we go to repave roads, it's easier to have a base point on one side and a base point on the other to match into, rather than one on one side where you might have the other side suffering a bit in elevation and creating a dip in the road. So we always try and have catch basins opposite of each other on the road.
Yeah.
And it's something that we're trying to keep up with and always perform.
But I mean, you can have, when I, like, from that photo and you look up the road, you can have a lot of runoff coming down Vine Hill Road. So why wouldn't we want that runoff to go into the catch basin? And because aren't we still gonna, well, we're still gonna have the same runoff problem that we have where we're getting erosion at the edge of the leak off.
Yeah.
So if we had the water going into the catch basin and then going from the catch basin into the modified riprap, then we don't have that erosion problem anymore.
Yeah, we just don't want to cross the pipe for the overflow of the pond at all. That is the structure that we're trying to stay away from. We'd obviously like to put the basin at the low point of the road to catch all the water. I'd rather not have a leak off, but in this particular circumstance, the leak off was designed to be there.
Okay.
We have some erosion that we need to take care of maintenance wise that is not a part of this project, but will be done at the same time. But yeah, it's solely because of that overflow pipe that we have elected to move the catch basin towards Talcott Notch Road.
If I'm looking at
Okay.
this picture correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dylan, but if I'm looking at this picture correctly, that runoff is almost on top of that pipe, that 12-inch PVC pipe. If you put in a standard catch basin, you're talking a 2-foot sump with the 15-inch RCP and the top, you're going to be sitting pretty close to that pipe. So I can understand why you don't want to be on top of it and
Yeah.
you're moving it over. You're just going to have to, take the chance of having some runoff come from the opposite end of the road, and from whatever's coming off of Talcott Notch is going to go into the catch basin before it gets there.
Correct. Yeah. So we are taking some of the water coming off of that leak off. We unfortunately aren't taking all of it, but we do feel like this is an adequate solution to the problem of not wanting to be over the overflow pipe, but also alleviating the issue from the other side of the street, which is more so the problem.
Okay. All right, it's just a suggestion, but
Yep.
I can see why you want to avoid the 12-inch PVC. And
All set, Ned?
yep, I'm all set.
Yeah, that ties in with my comment is why aren't we running the pipe and the riprap parallel with the 12-inch PVC pipe instead of going over it? I mean, to me, it would make more sense to angle that out so that the pipe and that riprap is running parallel with the pipe, because now if that property owner's got to go in and do something with that pipe, he's going to be squawking about having to go in and deal with the riprap and all this. So I'm just wondering if there's any way that can be angled out a little bit. So in essence, it's running parallel with a 12-inch PVC where the leak off is, so it's not over the pipe. And that way, even if we have to go back and do some maintenance, it's not a problem for us because we're not over his pipe. And if he's got to do any maintenance work on that 12-inch PVC, the riprap area is already out of his way. So is that something that can be done? I mean, I'm looking at the topography and it doesn't seem as though it may be that bad over there. So I'm just wondering if that could be done to have everybody stay away from everybody else's project.
Yeah, I think that's something that would be feasible. Looking at the topos, it would be a little more skewed,
Yeah.
I think. But I think it's definitely a possibility of just either perhaps, since we're not planning on catching all the water anyways to that leak off, perhaps I could move the catch basin over a couple feet as well, to help maybe alleviate that problem as well as angling the pipe and the riprap, seeing that the location of the basin, because it's not at the low point, doesn't matter as much as it usually does.
Yeah, it's just a matter of dealing with maintenance. I mean,
Yep.
Don't create a problem if you don't have to. That's all I'm getting at with it.
Yep. No, absolutely.
Okay. Any other comments from the commission members?
A question from Rich. Is there any opportunity to change the gutter line so that the new catch basin does become the low point?
That would require a larger milling project on the road. We'd have to go well over 100 feet in either direction. With, as you can see, it's pretty flat there to begin with. So we'd have to at least go to probably that mailbox, if not further, just judging by the photo.
Yeah, but the low point is up in the beginning of the photo, and the catch basin's even closer to the camera. So
Yeah.
that already slopes. It would seem that from the driveway to the leak off, that gutter line is fine. It's just you'd have to depress from where the leak off is to where the new catch basin is, and change that grade to get the water to the new catch basin. Maybe something worth looking at, when you get out there.
Yeah, perhaps coming from Talcott Notch and bringing the road grade down a bit more. Yeah, this project is supposed to be a fairly quick one that we can do this season before the winter comes about and we get busy with our leaf pickups. So that's why the complexity is very low, in part, just because of the overall time frame that we have to complete the job. And something like that, we would again have to hire a contractor to come in and probably mill and pave a portion of the road.
Okay.
What's that, Rich? Rich, you all set?
Yeah, I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay. So I think we need a motion to accept the application. And then hopefully we can get some feedback on some of the questions that were raised tonight for the next meeting, which would be on the 21st. So would somebody care to make a motion to accept the application?
This is Rich, so moved.
So moved, Mark.
Is there a second?
So moved, Mark.
Okay,
If I didn't get the first one.
you didn't.
Okay, I'll be the second.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the application for the town of Farmington for 2 Vine Hill Road. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, abstaining? Okay. So I guess we'll catch you back on the 21st to see where we go from here.
Sure. Is that how those were done in the past? Did you guys ever make those recommendations that it's a maintenance issue? Just curious, because I'm not sure what their timing is to get this done.
Well, I think the issue on this one is because you've got a more complicated situation dealing with the pipe, other people's potential right-of-ways to access the pipes and things of that nature. I just feel better doing it this
All
way.
right.
For this
No
one.
problem. I just want to be able to that so that when he goes back to highway, he has a he can better explain
No,
that.
this is a little more complicated because you've got somebody else that has some rights in the area as well.
Okay. No problem, sir. Thank you.
All right.
Chairman, if I may.
Yes.
So we do have approval to proceed from 5 Vine Hill Road, which is the owner with the pond. And I also have approval from the owners of 2 Vine Hill Road, which have signed the application as well to perform the work. That drainage swale has existed since the early 40s. And the town does have the right to dump water in there. Just for information for you.
Yep. Nope, that's fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, if the town has the right to dump the water, then why are we putting any catch basins? I mean, we have a right to dump the water into the pond at 5 Vine Hill Road.
No,
who's paying for this?
No, he has.
Is 5 Vine Hill Road paying for this?
No, he's talking that we have the right to discharge on 2 side.
2.
5 is just giving us permission to do the work to grade and get all that, close that off and do any kind of curbing and grading that we need to.
Okay.
I think we're making this way too much of a project than it really needs to be. I mean, I think we put in the catch basins the way they're proposed, take that that discharge pipe, angle it to the top a little bit, put the riprap in line with the PVC pipe and call it a day and let these guys do their job.
Yeah, we'll certainly be making that slight adjustment to the angle of the outfall to be in line with the other pipe.
And then do we want to go back and rescind the approval of the application in the sense that if this is going to be some routine maintenance with what we discussed to make sure that it's not a problem with anybody else's rights, especially with that 12-inch PVC pipe, and let them do it that way?
Yeah, I don't understand why we're extending. I don't know why we're waiting till 21st. I think I was under the assumption we were approving the project to go forward.
I'm going by what was on the application to accept the application. So it sounds like people are saying we don't need an application on this. This is just routine maintenance, except we don't have the catch basins there right now. That's part of the construction.
I mean,
I'm happy to listen to what other folks have to say.
It's 30 feet from the pond, so I mean, it comes within the purview of the Inland Wetlands Commission.
Yeah.
If anybody else with the town was doing this, I think we'd ask for an application.
Okay.
And I don't see any problem with the project. The thing is that if we're accepting the application, we can't vote on it tonight anyway, technically.
That's true.
You have to wait to the next meeting. That's all.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I don't think we're making it too complicated. It's just, whether or not it's routine maintenance, which I'm not sure it is because it's new basins going in and new riprap. So I would just rather err on the side of caution on this to have the application accepted, and then they can make whatever change they want on it. We can deal with it accordingly at the 21st. I don't see a problem with it going forward.
I understand what Dylan was saying, where we're starting to get to that time frame in the year where time's going to get sensitive, and I can understand they're wanting to get it in before they get crowded with leaves. That's why, but I can fully understand accepting it today and then passing it or voting on it on the next one now.
I mean, you're not expecting 60-degree weather in January this year?
Yeah.
Come on, it's not even fall yet, and we're talking leaves.
I gotta tell you, I've been trying to get my road paved for years, and people are talking because they're at 5 Vine Hill Road and they're getting catch basins installed. Take a look how bad my road is. Whatever.
Okay. So Dylan, you all set with this?
Yeah, I'm fine with whatever decision you
Okay.
guys come to.
Okay. All right, so then we'll see on the 21st, and my guess is this should be a relatively simple process.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, commission members and chairman.
Here, I do have that other item that, I don't know, I should have probably brought up at the beginning of the meeting about adding it to the agenda, but do we want to discuss the Farmington River watershed now?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll
why
need a vote
not?
to add that on the agenda.
Now, refresh my memory. Have we had applications on this type of project before, or have we just allowed them to do the work?
Well, let's back up. We did, and let's just let everyone know what's going on. Farmington River Watershed just emailed me about an hour before the meeting, more or less, and said, hey, we have some money that we need to spend at the end of the year. Okay. And they are on a fiscal year, not on they're on the a federal year. So their budget's at the end of September. They're looking to continue doing, and let me open that up. They're looking to do a bittersweet removal plan. And if you guys recall, I got it right here. When was that? That was it May? March, earlier this year. The local fish organization came in and they were looking to do a bittersweet removal plan, and they were working from in the flats for along the back of the garden plots coming up to right at this corner, like where the irrigation pump is. So now Farmington River Watershed would like to take that, go from here, follow along the whole river all the way up to the base of the trail bridge. So that's what they're looking at doing, and it's split by the aquifer protection zone in here. So they're looking to continue that. Again, monies they need to spend by the end of the month. So I'm kind of trying to help them out, see if we can add this onto the agenda and determine how we can do it. We did the earlier one we did as of right. So that was one meeting, and we took care of that. So if we want to add this to the agenda, we definitely can and talk about it.
I'd be happy to add it to the agenda.
If people are not comfortable, we could extend it to the next meeting.
Well, again, the
possible.
problem though, if I'm understanding this, is they have until September 30th to use the funds or they lose the funds.
Yes, they had to get all the proposals, the
If that's
price.
case, I mean, it doesn't give them a whole lot of time to try to do what they need to do to get everything organized.
No, it
So,
doesn't. And that's why I'm hoping we could answer any questions tonight. But what we're working with, just to put, you know what, I guess we should add it. If we want to vote, if we want to add it to the agenda, we should do that.
I
And then just talk about it.
entertain a motion to add it to the agenda. Somebody care to make that motion?
I'll make a motion, Ned, to add this item to the agenda.
Is there a second?
Dave will second.
Okay, those in favor of adding this item to the agenda, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, abstaining, okay.
Neil's opposed.
Neil's opposed?
Yep.
Okay. So the ayes have it though, correct?
Yep.
Okay. So Bruce, you wanna,
So as I was saying, they're looking to extend this along the edge of the river. Again, similar to what we allowed, what was the name of the group? I apologize.
Farmington River Watershed Association.
No, it wasn't them. It was the Connecticut Council for Trout
Drought Unlimited.
back in March. They did that, and they came in from irrigation pump all along the back of the garden plots. Farmington River Watershed's looking to take this and run along this whole stretch all the way up to there. Again, just like the Trout Unlimited did, they are not going through there with mechanical equipment, ripping the bittersweet out. They're looking to cut out, again, that 1, 2 foot, 3 foot section, or whatever it is, and pull it out and allow everything above to die out. So simple, not a lot of, just more or less foot traffic, hand shears and pruners. The only thing they would like to do on this one, and similar to what Trout on the Limited, wasn't sure if they were going to do it or not, but they have a foam applicator, and what they'd like to do is apply. And I wrote it down. Forgive me for the wording. I want to make sure I got the wording right. I'm not sure about the herbicide. It's triclopyr, TRICLOPYR. So copper. So what it is, it's for bittersweet. It's a foam applicator. There's no spraying, as we talked with the Trout Unlimited. We're not spraying the entire field or doing anything along the river. All we're doing is they're taking that applicator, cutting out the bittersweet, hitting the stump, and just moving on. The reason they want to add that this year is because this is the perfect time as the leaves start to die back. It starts to draw that product down into the root system and hopefully kills the actual bittersweet itself. The only concern we have is with the Connecticut Water Company at this point. Where is the plan here? I think this is right here. So as you can see, a part of that is in the aquifer protection zone here. So we are working with them right now for the approval on the applicator. of the actual herbicide. If they don't allow it in their area, then we will just, the intention is for them to just do that applicator of the herbicide here and skip this and just cut this and leave it. Just do like they did in the past, just cut out a 2-foot or 3-foot section. Unfortunately, it is a very, as we know, it's a very invasive. And when they're just afraid that if they cut it, it's known that it just reroots and it just climbs on top of the existing vine that's dead up in the tree. So they really want to try to push Connecticut Water to see if they'll be allowed to apply the herbicide in this area. Again, they're looking at, I think from what she said in her email to me, she said they're looking at it probably take about 2 weeks to do.
So we'll go around and ask folks what their take is. Rich?
I don't really have any heartache with this.
Bobby?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. It's an invasive species and it's just going to improve the area.
Dave?
I'm okay with it as well.
Robert?
I would support a similar approval like we did for Trout Unlimited. It's going to improve the quality of the wetland ecosystem.
Okay. Neil?
Nothing further to add.
Okay. Mark?
I have no issues with them going forward with this.
Ned?
I'm okay with the activity.
I'm okay with the activity, but the one thing we need to make sure of is that there's coordination between the water company, the people trying to use the herbicide, and the town, so that everybody knows exactly what's going on and what can or cannot be used in a given area.
Yeah, we had she had mentioned that in the email. We've got bios of all of the applicator licensed applicators, and as well as everything. So once we're gonna have a meeting with Connecticut Water to get their approval, and then hopefully once that we can meet out on site, flag it all up, and then get started on it.
And Bruce, the one thing I just want to clarify, you made a comment like, is it a foam applicator, meaning that they're, I guess to use the term, they're going to paint the stump?
Yeah, exactly. It's a foam. The thing they sent here, it's
like a foam paintbrush.
Exactly. And they're just going to dot it. There's no mixing
Right.
on site. Everything's in a container and they just blop and dab. So one person cuts, the other guy dabs. So.
Okay. And I don't remember exactly what we did with the other organization.
I have it right here.
How did we handle that?
Yep, you made a motion to make a determination to remove invasive plants within the upland review area along the south side of the Farmington River as permitted non-regulated operation under section 4.B.1 of the Inland Wetlands and Watercourse Regulations with the following conditions. And then one of them was the manufacturer's recommendation for application is strictly followed and the herbicide is painted on the bittersweet stalks. So that's exactly how it was approved with the trout unlimited.
Okay, so would somebody care to make a similar motion in this case?
Yeah, I'll make.
So moved a like motion for the Farmington River Watershed Association for their proposed work.
I'll second. I would add to that to paint it on the bittersweet only.
Yep.
Agreed.
That's
So
a
I have
second from
a
Ed.
motion in a second. So we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstaining?
I'll abstain. And the reason I'm voting this way, didn't want to accept the application is I don't think it's fair to staff. I don't think it's fair to us as commissioners to get applications an hour before our meetings, a day before our meetings. I mean, we're getting material on stuff with no time for me personally to review it. I don't think that's fair to any of us. Our meetings are public. People know when the schedule is, and with a little bit of planning on their part, including the town, who sent us an application yesterday, that could have been avoided.
Neil, just so you know, the regulations, the state regulations actually allow or mandate that you have to accept an application up to 24 hours before the meeting. So I agree with the Farmington River watershed, but the other one is just as, I agree with the other ones. Like I said, it does create difficulty, but that's what the 2 meetings are for as well. At one point, they give their presentation and we have to kick it over to the next meeting. So.
No, and I also agree with you, Neil, is that, you know, we've had this in the past where you have somebody, maybe they've got an application and before us, they go in, they modify everything and they submit the modifications at 3:30 on the day of the meeting. So nobody has a chance to go back and review it.
Yeah.
No, I think everybody here fully agrees with you and supports you on that.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for the clarification, Bruce.
All right. Again, I don't enjoy it any more than you do, but I know it's something that's a benefit definitely for the area, and we did it for Farm Trout Unlimited in the past. So I felt it would just be, we could do the same. The other 2 things I had on the planner's report. Oh, sorry. Are we going to the planner's report now?
Yes, we are.
Okay, 2 things on the planner's report have been pulled. All right. There's some modifications. We're still waiting for an updated report from George Logan. We have not received that yet. So I'm hoping to get that today or tomorrow or Friday. Staff will have a meeting with them, review it, and hopefully there'll be a small presentation at the next meeting on that. Trump was looking for some minor modifications. We kicked that back to them for a few other things. All right. And the Maria Road appeal, just letting everyone know, I think we discussed last time that they had, there was an appeal. Town attorney is working on a response at this point, and hopefully it'll be submitted back to the court soon. All right. While I've got you, just letting everyone know that we are working on the schedule for next year for the meetings. Hold your applause back. You know, it's a long way off still, but the only thing I had is, and I wanted to make sure, because we have to deal with all of the land use committees and these things. Every time we adjust a date, it affects something else. April 5th is the start of Passover. All right. And that's a Wednesday. So I wanted to just check with the commission, see if we're willing to have the meeting on that day, if we want it moved. So that is the only conflict I saw for holidays and things like that. If there's anyone that's for or against it, just let me know. If not, I will leave it for the 5th and we'll go from there.
I'm neutral on it.
Yeah, yeah, it doesn't matter. Just point me in the right direction and hopefully I get there.
All right. All right. I'm not pointing you. You're driving. So, all right. And the only other thing is, while we were talking about the meetings, is just checking in with Zoom on everybody. Everybody's still wants to stay Zoom. Any talk about moving, anything like that, let me know. At this point, we're going to keep them on Zoom. So,
all right, let me ask you this. Are there still problems with the Zoom and the in-person mix?
it was a little bit of a problem. We have been working out the tweaks. There was some problems in terms of having the meetings in person. So we actually went back to Zoom. So we are, at this point, everyone is on Zoom in terms of the land use. I think the council is meeting in person. There are some other boards that have a limited role in person. So,
planning and zoning are still in person, aren't they?
exactly. No. They went in person for one night. There was an issue with an application. Police had to come, and hence we are back to Zoom. Let's just say it was
sorry.
guess there's a good reason. There's a good reason right there.
So we, at this point, we're gonna plan on staying Zoom. Also, I want to take this time, if we can, just to let everyone know, if anyone, if you don't like the format, I mean, if everyone's happy with the SharePoint files, I think for me, it's easier. Everything is listed. You guys can go into each one of those folders. So just wanted to make sure, and anyone doesn't want to see a change in the format, let me know. We're willing to change to make it easier for you guys. So
I do like that we have everything for the application, because like today I went back and looked at some of the earlier, the plans that are still there from the earlier or the initial proposal, and then just to see where some of the lines were moved and things like. So I like having the old stuff
It helps to have
available.
everything in one spot.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
all right, I'll keep doing it then. Listen, this is the way I took it. Shannon had started it. I like the way it worked. It seems to work. I just, I think we do more of the SharePoints now than we did putting them in the email, because I think it's easier. It's more easier to follow. So I'll keep doing it. If anyone wants a change, please let us know, because it's our job is to make it easy for you guys, because you guys are volunteering. I definitely don't want you guys having to hunt and peck to find stuff if that's the way.
Let me ask you, is that stuff open to the public?
Not
is
those
that just-
SharePoints. No,
not the SharePoint,
SharePoints
okay.
are not. Everything that goes on there though, Sandy posts on the website.
Yep,
Okay.
Or they can come into the office and look at it.
Yep.
right.
They can do that
Okay.
as well. So.
Okay.
I heard that.
Yeah.
Somebody's
that's
had a
right.
long day.
That's why I turned off my video.
Don't start. It's gonna go down the line.
Oh,
I'm
is there
done.
anything else,
The
Bruce?
minutes.
I'm done, sir.
Okay. I do have one quick question for you, though. We approved the minutes for the July 9th site walk, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
we
I know
added
I know
that.
they're included, but we've already approved those, so it's just the minutes for July 20th that we have to approve, correct?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, I just wanted to verify that. Can I get a motion to approve the July 20th, 2022 inland wetland meeting minutes?
So moved, Ned.
Is there a second?
Second, Mark.
Second.
Any comments, questions, corrections? Hearing nothing there, can I have, we've got a motion to approve the July 20, 2022 inland wetland meeting minutes. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, abstaining? Okay, so we're okay there. We'll close this at 8:59 and we'll open up. the
Robert has his
conservation.
hand raised.
Oh, sorry, I missed
Oh,
that.
sorry, Robert.
Yes, say, Bob, before we close the meeting,
Yep.
Bruce, for guidance, with the storage unit proposal, if they're looking for, if they get the question, what is the commission thinking? I would say typically we like to see all of the engineering comments addressed. So if they come in without anything lingering with you in engineering, that's good. And then I would think anything they can do to minimize the impact of the wetland crossing and increase buffers, whether it's, reducing building size, reducing cube size. I think, those are the high level things. Minimize the impact, increase the buffer, and address all the engineering comments.
Sounds like a plan. Yeah, that's what I thought. And that's kind of why I marked it that way, because I thought the increase from the offset of the wetlands was not par to what you guys were discussing at the meeting last night, or at the previous meeting. So, and I had mentioned that to them. So,
Yeah,
But
but that's
yes,
what I said, I'm not going to do the design work for them. I'll
Yeah.
weigh in on whatever they want to propose. But
No. I agree, but I think this is a great, as Bob says, we're pointing them down the road at this point. So I think they should have a better understanding of what you guys are looking for. So hopefully they should be able to address those.
And ultimately it comes down to, it's their call, what they want to propose.
Yep.
So. Okay, was that it, Robert?
yes, it was. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll close the wetlands meeting at 9:01, open conservation. And it doesn't look like there's really anything on the agenda other than might be planners report. Anything there?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay, so can I get a motion to approve the July 20, 2022 Conservation Commission meeting minutes?
So approved.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'll
Blair.
second.
Okay, have a motion to approve the Conservation Commission minutes of July 20, 2022. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, abstaining? Okay, you're lucky, Bruce. We didn't take it up to take your keyboard away on Tuesday before the meeting.
Listen, do you think I hit send and go, oh, I'm so happy. I'm gonna pay for this when I hit send. I know it.
No, but I bet you got a smile on your face when you send it.
No, I don't. No, I don't. I think I have a lot more gray hairs because of that.
I hear
So-
a lot of sighing.
Sandy hears me in the back. So, all right. Thank you, everybody, for hanging in there. Welcome back. Off we go.
Thank you, everybody.
Night,
And
everyone.
we'll catch you all on the 21st. Take care.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Have a
Thank
good one.
you.